What's good, everybody? Jake here with Venture Visuals, and today I am hyped because we are going to be breaking down some effects used in Fredo Bang's music video Click Up, shot and edited by shotbyjolo. I've been watching Fredo Bang's music videos for a little while now, and I'm loving the effects that these guys use in their edits. In this tutorial is going to be really cool because shotbyjolo is also an incredible video editor. We're going to be breaking down some of the main effects he uses in Fredo Bang's music videos, and this guy shotbyjolo, he really spends a lot of time editing his videos, and you can tell that he puts an incredible amount of work into the little details of these edits. So today we're just going to be breaking down a small part of one of his edits. I also want to mention that if you're interested in getting your own music videos featured on my channel, definitely hit me up on Instagram at Venture Visuals. I'm looking for new project files to use on my tutorials, so even if you got old footage, old clips, old music videos, feel free to send them my way, and if I use them in tutorials, I'll definitely give you a shout out. I'll include your links down below and point people in your direction, all while working on your own footage or your own edits. So if that's interesting to you, definitely hit me up on Instagram. You'll notice in a lot of the Fredo Bang music videos, especially the ones that are shot by shotbyjolo, he uses rotoscoping almost to the extreme. Almost in every single clip there is somebody or something getting rotoscoped. So let's check out what this first effect looks like. So there's some clones, and then he falls away, right? Shotbyjolo definitely rotoscoped him out here, and this must have been an easier rotoscope because he's wearing all orange and the background is very different color. And then all he's doing is duplicating that rotoscope layer a couple of times, and then he's keyframing the scale and the position of those rotoscope layers to kind of bounce out of the bottom of the screen like that. As that's happening, these layers get blurry. That's just some motion blur that he probably turned on in After Effects. So you come to the end of this clip right here, and then, you know, we have this rotoscope layer again appearing there, and now it just starts to fall away. So it's the same thing. He's just got three rotoscope layers sitting on top of each other, and he has those all sitting on top of this next clip right here. So here are some clips from a music video I shot a couple years ago called Too Nice. This clip right here, we're going to do that kind of duplicate clone effect. So maybe about right there is when the clones will stop. So let's just make a cut for that little section right here. So in this section, we're gonna have the clones off to the left of him, just like how they did in their music video. So what I'm gonna do is right click on this clip, hit nest, hit OK, right click on it again, and hit replace with After Effects composition. The reason I nest before bringing it into After Effects is just so I don't have to deal with any frame rate issues. Now what I'm gonna do with this layer is hit Command D to duplicate it. I'm gonna rename this one on the bottom background, and we'll name this one on the top Roto. So with this one on the top selected, I'm going to come up here to my Rotobrush, and I'm going to rotoscope. Rotoscoping is, you know, just the art of tracing stuff in a video and making them into their own layers, moving them around. You can get all these trippy effects with rotoscoping and using the Rotobrush. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to go over to the next tab by hitting 2, and you can see that After Effects does a great job of just highlighting the object that I'm tracing without me having to do much. Now when I come back up here to composition and I hide my background layer, we can see that we have our rotoscope. In the Click Up video, you'll see that he has his first rotoscope layer on top of the other layers. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come back here to After Effects, and this is gonna be our top rotoscope layer. So we're just gonna hit Command D a couple times to duplicate it, and these are gonna be our clone layers underneath. This one's sitting on top, this one's gonna be kind of like our main rotoscope, and then these ones underneath are gonna be our clones that slide out here. So what I'm gonna do with these ones underneath is just shift click on all of them, hit P on my keyboard, and keyframe the position. So with each one of these, like this one, the one that's right behind him, we want that one to be the closest when it slides out, so we'll go like that. We'll do the same with the next one. That one's going to be closer to the second one than the first one. So all I'm doing now is just changing these keyframes for the position on all of these clones, and now what I can do is just stack the keyframes so that they don't all slide out at the same time, and we kind of have like them you know, wipe out at different times, so it actually looks a little bit smoother. You know, it's gonna look a little bit unnatural here at first, and this is just because we don't have motion blur turned on. So this is another thing they do in a lot of their music videos. They use a lot of motion blur, so you want to make sure that you have motion blur turned on over here. That's going to re-render our Rotobrush with the motion blur, and then I'm going to turn my background layer back on, and you can see now we're getting this kind of like crazy clone effect, very similar to what they have going on in their music video, right? So I'm just going to hit Command S on this clip for now. Come back here to Premiere Pro. We have the effect happening here in Premiere Pro, and we're just gonna copy what they do in the Click Up music video. They have this other rotoscope layer of him kind of like falling away over the next clip. So what we need to do is same thing. We're gonna right click on it, hit Nest before we bring this part into After Effects. Right click on it again, replace with After Effects Composition. And then we're just going to do the same thing, except this time we don't need the background layer. We just need the rotoscope layer to duplicate this effect that they use in their music video. Alright, so I've just finished rotoscoping, so now I'm going to come back to my composition here. Now I'm just going to do the same thing we did before. I'm just going to duplicate this layer a couple of times. So let's just duplicate it 3 times. So now I'm going to shift click on all of these layers, hit P, and I'm going to make a keyframe here on position. And then we're going to come about, let's go about 6 frames to the end. And we're just going to move them down out of the way so they all move at the same time. You can see, his head's getting chopped off. That's just because he's at the top of our frame here. When we Rotobrush, it's not going to, automatically generate a new head on him. So this doesn't look great. So what we need to do, again, is just turn on our motion blur. So now what I'm going to do with this bottom layer is just move these keyframes over so it doesn't fall until later. And then each one on top of it falls a little bit before that last one. So we're just staggering the keyframes again, kind of like how we did on the last example. Boom, now you have it where each version of him is kind of falling away, and then at the end there he just completely falls out of the screen. There's no more rotoscope layers underneath. So I'm just gonna hit Command S, and this might not look identical to what they're doing because obviously I'm not using their footage, but it's gonna look very similar. So let's just take a look at what the rotoscope transition we just created looks like in regular speed. This next effect is just a freeze frame transition. So we have this freeze frame cutout of the next clip. So it starts with this cop clip, right? We got this rotoscope of this cop car, and then it's into the cop clip of him driving by, and then it goes into the next scene here. This is just a freeze frame cutout. There's a lot of different ways you can do freeze frame transitions like this. Right here is where the next clip comes in after this clip. So we have this clip right here, and then boom, straight into the next clip. So we want that freeze frame cutout to happen right here. So what I'm gonna do is just cut the beginning of this next clip, and I'm just gonna make a little section of this very first part, drag it up, holding Option so it's a duplicate. With our scrubber on this first frame of this next clip, what we're going to do is right click on it, and we're going to hit Add Frame Hold, and this is just going to give us a freeze frame right here. So now as I scroll over it, there's no movement, right? We're just going to drag it over the clip prior. So this clip, we're just going to drag it on the video layer above that, drag it out, so we'll make it a little bit longer. Let's make it like 8 frames. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Let's cut it right there, not make it too long. So then with this freeze frame layer selected, we can come over here to opacity, grab our pen tool, and we can start to trace over the person or object that we're trying to cut out here and make this freeze frame effect. So then boom, we just completed our mask right here, right? So that's what this is called. It's called an opacity mask. Now as I scroll over here, we have our freeze frame mask sitting on top of our first layer. Another thing I want to do is just take the feather on this mask down a little bit so we have a sharper edge right there. So now with this freeze frame layer, what we're going to do is right click on it. We're going to hit Nest and hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is throw an effect called Transform onto this so we can add some motion blur here in Premiere Pro. Instead of using motion, I like to use Transform just because with motion, if you do some keyframes, you can't add motion blur, but you can with Transform. Let's use Transform to keyframe this freeze frame cutout into the next clip. So what we're going to do is just keyframe on the position in the scale where it's at now, drag it to the end because that's where we want it to lead into, and then what we're going to do is just change the scale. Let's bring the scale down a little bit, and then we're going to bring his position out of the frame. We're going to drag these 2 keyframes we just made to the very beginning. So now as I scroll over, you can see that freeze frame slides up. But what I like to do using this Transform, like I said, is just add some motion blur so we can turn up the shutter angle right there, and the freeze frame cutout gets a little bit more blurry. You'll notice a lot of these smaller details, these smaller transitions thrown around in the Shot by Jolo Fredo Bang music videos as well. So let's check it out one more time. Another thing I like to do anytime I'm doing motion keyframes, I highlight my keyframes, and with these ones that we're leading into, I'm going to right click on them, temporal interpolation, and hit ease in. This is just going to make it a little bit more gradual as it slides into the frame, and it's going to look a little bit smoother. Another effect they do a lot in these music videos is kind of like this zoom through effect. So you can see here in this car clip, it kind of zooms out of the first clip and into this car clip right here. It's just a freeze frame picture they have of this car. So they did a frame hold on the first frame of this next clip right here, right? So they took a frame hold of this right there, and then they just masked it around and then did a whole other layer. So they masked, this is one, they're two separate layers. This window is a separate layer from the car, and they probably put them in a nested sequence and zoomed it out. We're just gonna do a quick breakdown of this here in Premiere Pro. So I actually don't have, you know, really any similar footage to their music video, so I'm just gonna do this on their actual music video here. First thing we're gonna do is just duplicate it. So I'm just gonna hold Option and drag it up, and with this top clip now, I'm gonna add a frame hold. I'm gonna drag it in so it's really short, and we're gonna put it in the very front, right? So now we have this frame hold that lasts for a couple frames. You know, what they did is they came up here to opacity, and they just traced around the outline of this car. So boom, and now there's no background. So that's how they got the clip, the first clip appearing, you know, behind this this freeze frame. Now to get the kind of like window transition effect, what they did is I'll just duplicate this freeze frame layer. So with this top freeze frame layer, I'm just gonna right click, hit nest, hit OK, and then I'm gonna create another opacity mask around where the window is. So boom, just like that. So now we have an opacity mask around the window. Let's make sure we turn off our window layer for now so we don't see anything, right? So now what I can do is with our window layer, I can slide that up into the frame. So what I can do is come up here to motion and keyframe on that position and scale, and then I can take the position down, you know, below our screenshot. So he slides up into the window, and then we get the, you know, next clip, right? And then towards the end of this clip, what they do is they zoom back through that window, and they just reverse that window animation on the way back out, probably using the transform. So there's a couple layers here, 1, 2, 3 layers on top of each other, and we're just zooming through. So let's put this first transition to the test. Let's just drag out our main footage here underneath so we can see. Right, so there's their music video. Let's hide our effect that we just made. So there's their music video right there. So their, you know, truck kind of falls into the frame. What I'm going to do with both these layers is highlight them, right click on them, and hit nest, hit OK. And now what we're going to do is just hit a keyframe on the scale and position, and then towards the beginning we can zoom it in like this. This is how they do those window zoom ins here too, right? So they're just keyframing the zoom in. So like we can zoom out from the window here in the beginning, so boom, and then it goes into the next frame. So that's how they do those window transitions right there. What I like to do is right click on those keyframes, hit easy ease in, so they easy ease in really nicely, and then let's turn on their music video and just compare, right? So there's theirs and there's ours, right back to back with each other right there, and you get the zoom through effect. Obviously they use a few more keyframes than me, right? My transition is super fast right there. You'll see it, boom, boom. Their transition probably lasts for, you know, twice the length of that transition, but the concept is the same. They're just making layers, using masks, and, you know, keyframing those masks. The last effect we're going to cover today is this kind of crazy rotoscope effect where the background falls away, and then you have all of these duplicated backgrounds behind them, and then, you know, he rotoscopes into the next clip, right? So this is just one rotoscope, right? So they're just rotoscoping. shotbyjolo is just rotoscoping this clip of him, and then he's making different layers, just like how we've done, keyframing those layers out to the side. So there's those clones, and then back in. So boom. So that's what he's doing there, right? He's doing those rotoscope techniques that we just went over right there. He's got motion blur turned on. You can tell when they're moving. They're all blurry. The other thing he has going on here is that the original footage falls away off the background, right? So we have our rotoscope layer sitting on top, and then we have our, you know, original footage sitting here in the middle, right? And that's falling down out of the background, and then on the bottom of that is this kind of, you know, trippy 3D rotating composition here, which I'm going to show you guys how to do this really easily in Premiere Pro and After Effects. So let's just use this part of our music video right here, you know, where he's rapping in the alleyway right here with his boys. So we're just gonna do the same kind of effect on our own clip. So what I'm gonna do is duplicate this layer, hold Option, and drag it up. So now we have the same clip duplicated on top of itself twice. With this bottom clip, I'm just gonna hit replace with After Effects composition. That's gonna bring it right here into After Effects. Now that it's in After Effects, what I'm gonna do is just shrink it up a considerable amount. Let's go like this much right here, right? So it's pretty small. Now what I'm gonna do is come over here to my effects and presets and type in CC Reptile, and I can throw that onto this clip layer right here. And now we can start to get these duplicates here. So I'm just gonna type in like 6,000 for each of these. So I'm just gonna copy paste that value in for each of these other values. And you can see now we're getting all those duplicates. And now what we're gonna do is right click on this layer and hit pre-compose, hit OK. I'm gonna turn the 3D button on so we can start rotating this layer, making it look how they made it look in the click up music video. So now with this layer selected, I'm gonna hit R. That's gonna open up all my rotation keyframe values here. Theirs rotates a little bit from left to right. So let's figure out, you know, which one of these values is going to rotate. Okay, so perfect. This Z rotation. So we're going to keyframe it a little bit tilted to the left, and then as the clip moves forward, it'll keyframe it. We'll keyframe it a little bit so that it rotates to the right more. And then in their music video as well, you'll notice that their composition kind of has this tilt to it. So let's give our composition here a little tilt, a little 3D tilt. And so boom, now we got our composition looking a little more trippy. A lot going on here, so let's actually zoom it in a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is just hide all those values, open up my transform, and just increase the scale. So we're scaled in a little bit more on this composition. And now as I scroll through, you'll see how our composition just kind of rotates and is you know, on this 3D kind of wall here. With this top layer, I'm gonna do my rotoscope. So I'm gonna right click on this top layer, I'm gonna hit nest, I'm gonna hit OK, I'm gonna hit right click on it again, replace with After Effects composition, and now I'm just gonna rotoscope him out of this this clip. So I'm just gonna, you know, grab my Rotobrush, I'm gonna start rotoscoping here. Alright, so I've got them all traced out here. My rotoscope layer is looking good. So as I scroll back here in my composition, I can check them out. I'm going to hit Command S. Make sure your transparency layer is on here. And then I'm going to come back here into Premiere Pro. And now we can see we got them rotoscoped out of the background. And we got this crazy, trippy, you know, rotating wall, I guess you could call it, happening behind him. Obviously, they got him centered up in the frame a little bit better than I did in my footage. The only other thing I want to do real quick is show you guys how they get the background to slide out from underneath. So with our rotoscope layer, what I'm going to actually do is duplicate it here in After Effects, and with this one underneath, I'm going to delete the Rotobrush and edge. Okay, now we can rename it background so it's a little bit easier to remember. We're just going to hit P and keyframe our position starting there, and then it's going to drop down out of the frame. You should see some transparency happening here as soon as it's done rendering our rotoscope. Boom, it's transparent, right? So now as I scroll back over, you can see the background starts to fade away. If we want to get the nice edge going on here, we just got to turn on that motion blur. Right click on this first keyframe and hit easy ease out so it, you know, gradually falls out of the frame. And then we can, you know, tweak the keyframe on the graph editor if we want to, make it even more smoother. So now you see the background's falling away from our rotoscope layer, and it's going to reveal, let's actually make it a lot shorter. It's going to reveal, if I hit Command S, it's going to reveal the trippy grid wall behind it right there. Boom. So let's check this out in full motion. I'm on the ass, fuck it up and sex. Get it right back, spit it again and sex. Fuck it up and sex. Get it right back, spit it again and sex. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty dope. I actually like this look a lot. It's very trippy. I might, you know, if I was going more in detail, I might do a little bit of blur to this background layer just to give us some depth here. So let's just add a little blur on our background layer. Let's throw some Gaussian blur on that thing. Yeah, So you see how that's a little more out of focus there. We got a rotoscope layer popping out a little bit more. So, you know, I could talk about this stuff for hours, and I do on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in learning more about music video effects, definitely check out my channel and consider hitting the subscribe button down below. I'm so stoked to be showing you guys the upcoming packs that I've been working on for video editing. We got new Adobe Premiere Pro presets, some new overlays, transitions. So if you're a creative person and you edit videos, definitely consider sticking around, hitting that subscribe button, and staying up to date on my upcoming visual packs for video editors and my upcoming tutorials. If you have any ideas at all for different tutorials that you might like to see, definitely let me know in the comments down below. If you are looking to sauce up your videos today, definitely check out my website, venturevisuals.com. I got a bunch of different video editing packs on there, including a free pack which you can download completely free of charge and try out every single pack on my website. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out my links down below in the description. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Jake Venner. Peace out.